The economic crisis in Russia is getting worse. End of Putin. Catastrophic failure. Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today in this video, we will talk about Russia's catastrophic economic crisis. So let's get started. 2022, Russia sent over 180,000 of its forces to invade Ukraine. The Kremlin was preparing for this worse in 2006. Hundreds of billions of dollars were spent on modernizing the Russian military, stabilizing the economy, and expanding Russian influence all over the world. The only thing that was left for Putin to do was to give the order to attack and wait for the good. The next day, Putin arrives at Kiev, gives a victory speech, and Russia checkmate the West before they even realize what just happened. But something went wrong. In fact, a lot of things went wrong. Ukraine aimed at winning the information war by controlling the storyline, used US intelligence to prevent Russia from taking over Kiev, and pushed the entire world to cut ties with. And it worked. Companies literally started leaving Russia. BMW stops making cars in Russia. IKEA sold its factories and left the country. Google, IBM, Airbnb, Netflix, PayPal, Samsung, Starbucks, Visa, MasterCard, Coca-Cola, all left. Russia over. Russian banks were thrown away from the international financial system, and you could no longer send money to Russia or from Russia. Experts predicted that Russia's economy will collapse. That's worse than a depression, leaves alone a recession. United States launched a series of financial attacks on the ruble. Ruble lost half of its value and jumped from 70 rubles per to over 140 overnight, as if the entire war declared a war against Russia. And everyone predicted that Russia will collapse in a matter of a few months. The Western sanctions before Russia as a state collapses and turns into many small puppet states. United States. First objective was to crush the Russian currency, because if you crush the currency, it'll create chaos in the economy and will crush everything else like a domino. US restricted Russian government from acquiring foreign currency, pressured US companies to leave the country, and the entire world wanted to sell everything they had inside the country and leave. Which means selling all of their Russian rubles and buying dollars. The Russian rubles began trading at half of its price. The way currencies usually work is that supply and demand determines the price. If people suddenly start selling their rubles, it'll start declining, and at some point people can lose faith in the currency, and it'll turn into hyperinflation, as it was the case with Germany after World War I or Zimbabwe in 2006. However, that did not happen to Russia, because that's exactly what us did back in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. So this time was ready. It saved up over 630 billion in foreign reserves that if everyone starts selling rubles, the Russian central bank can step in and artificially create enough demand for the ruble that it wants collapse. And since all of Western companies began leaving Russia one by one, and Russia was restricted from the global financial system, Russia took countermeasures. Russia also restricted foreign currencies inside the country. First of all, you could no longer withdraw US dollars or euros from ATMs. You could no longer send them outside Russia, since Russia was kicked out of SWIFT system, and you couldn't even keep them in your bank account, since Russian banks imposed a 12% fee for keeping foreign currency in you. Whatever foreign currency that businesses inside Russia would receive would automatically be exchanged to rubles, at least 80% of them, which boosted the demand for the Russian ruble, which made the Russian ruble the best performing currency in the world. That's how Russia saved its currency. That was just the beginning, because the worst was yet to come. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is about to make Russia a landlord country. Wait a second. Almost all of Russia's population is located in the western side of the country. So its ports in the east at Vladivostok are worthless, since Vladivostok is a 9-hour flight from Moscow. So delivering everything from Vladivostok to western side are fresh. It doesn't even have a proper infrastructure in the north. The situation isn't any better. It's freezing for most of the year, and ships can go through, and there aren't any major cities, because the cold weather just makes it unbearable to live there. That's why Peter Great waged a war against the Swedish Empire to annex St. Petersburg and instantly made it the new capital of Russia. This new city had access to the Baltic Sea, and Russia finally could trade with Europe. But Russia was still at the mercy of Sweden, since it could easily block the Russian ships when crossing the Danish route. It's for this exact reason Russia has always kept a good relationship with Sweden, but as a wise man once said, never puts all of your eggs in one basket. That's why Russia began looking for alternative waste trade with the The only option that was left was by crossing the Bosphor Strait to access the Mediterranean Sea, but it was controlled by the Ottoman Empire. That's why the Russian Empire was in a constant war with the Ottomans. It is controlled by Turkey, which is a NATO member, which means that Sweden joining NATO literally makes Russia dependent on NATO to have access to the NATO can now block Russian ships, which will significantly limit Russia's trade, which can cripple the Russian economy. And if Ukraine wins this war, Russia will have to give up Crimea, which will limit Russia's power in the Black Sea, making the largest country in the world landlocked. But that's not even the biggest problem. Russia's entire economy is about supplying Europe with raw materials such as oil, gas, wood, and everything else that the Western Europe needs to keep their industries running. Without affordable gas, for example, German factories won't be able to survive. Prior to the February 2022, almost half of Europe's entire gas supplies were coming from Russia. Russia spent dozens of billions of dollars building these pipelines. And now Russia has stopped supplying Europe with gas to pressure Europe to turn against Ukraine. Europe is now spending billions of dollars, diversified its energy sources, and sign a multi-billion-dollar deal with other gas exporting countries such as Qatar, which means that even if the world stops, regardless of who wins the war, Russia will no longer be able to sell its oil and gas to Europe as it did in the past. Of course, it's trying to sell its oil and gas to China and India, but the truth is that they will not replace Europe for two reasons. First of all, China and India don't pay the premium that Europe used to pay for the Russian gas. Secondly, Russia doesn't have the resources to build so many pipelines again to China that it had spent decades building them to Europe. So no matter how the world in Ukraine, Russia's economy is doomed. Even if Russia annexes exist, the entire Ukraine, it'll have an entirely damaged country that needs rebuilding. Russia's entire economy is dependent on high-tech imports. It can manufacture cars without Western equipments. It can build planes. It can produce smartphones to computer chips. It can build civilian planes. Russia is just becoming more and more dependent on China since it has no other option. China is buying its oil to fill the government's budget and replacing everything else that Russia now can acquire from them. It's turning Russia into becoming China's puppet, and most importantly, it lost its image as the second most powerful military in the world. Russia might have never been the second most powerful military. This war will most likely leave Russia with a crippled economy that needs decades and trillions of dollars to bring it back to the pre-war condition, putting an end to Russia's ambitions to ever become a global superpower. So this was our today's video. I hope you all liked this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe my channel. And also share it with your friends and family. We will be back soon with a new video. Till then, keep supporting and take care.